Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Cast Revive, your top 5 VGM podcast. I'm your host, Matt Heimerl, and here with the man who thought a Moogle was a cow hybrid, Steve Moncelsi.
What's up, everyone?
This is Final Fantasy 14.
And I am Star Fox.
Star Fox. Well,
that sounded like Star Fox.
That would be cool, Flu. We do need to do a Star Fox episode. Already tangent. We're already 10 seconds in. We're already derailing onto another game. This is fantastic. This episode is going to be crazy.
This is what we do.
This is what we do. But tonight we have a super awesome special guest with us. A good friend of mine who I've known for a while, and all the way from UCF, the man who I think created the greatest gaming group in the history of all mankind, the Manly Stanley.
Hello.
How you doing, man? Thanks for being here. This is quite an honor. I'm very excited.
It's a mutual honor. I love working with you. It's always a great time.
So we decided on Final Fantasy 14 because Stan is a big fan, as am I, as is Brian, who unfortunately can't be on mic tonight, but he's got his hands full with mixing this evening. And I know Steve is a big fan of the Final Fantasy series, just doesn't have as much experience with 14.
I'm going to get schooled this evening.
Oh, you will. Don't worry. But this is going to be a fun episode because there's so much awesome music, and the fact that this game was completely reborn, hence a realm reborn from the original version, there's a lot to talk about.
Well, this thing was actually a lot of fun. What I did play is just that it's just another huge online multiplayer game, much like Warcraft in a sense, where it's like unless you have tons of time and stuff to dedicate to playing it, you're not really going to get very far. I got sort of far. I mean, enough to understand what the game is and how to play it.
Right.
And but I just didn't have enough time to dedicate to it.
Yeah.
Because I think I was actually playing Warcraft when this came
out.
Well,
if you're playing two different MMOs,
you have to pick one.
It's impossible. Absolutely. So, Stan, what is it about? Before we jump into your top 5,
sure.
What are you working on? What is it that you do that you want to share with wonderful people on interworld web?
The
voodoo that you do.
The Matrix.
Yes. So, who do you voodoo? Let's not bring up Dead Island. So, as far as what I'm working on lately, I'm at the Manly Stanley on Twitter. Some call me Stanpie these days as well, as I work with anime communities and video game communities. Manly Gamedays is a community that was brought up moments ago. It's a gaming community I named after myself, with the short-sightedness of not realizing that the word manly might have negative repercussions in today's modern society. So I came up with the tagline, it's not about gender, it's about fair play, to kind of really hit home what the community was about. And that community is still thriving. It's going on 4 years. At the end,
wow! Congratulations!
It's a really wonderful community of people that a lot of beautiful creations and relationships have been born out of. So
no, I agree, and the greatest thing about it is you're right. I mean, you include everyone, and it's not just about gaming. You have music groups, you've Dungeons and Dragons groups. There are people that I know you said were in like a film class creating, and you had people from the group. So you weren't just creating just like people to get together and casually play games. You were creating essentially a family.
That was the idea.
Yeah, and it's great to see these people that are still connecting, and hopefully, once you because you graduate soon, right?
I graduate in May.
Yeah. So after that, I mean, hopefully that people will carry on your legacy into the 4 years.
I do want to give a quick shout out to Robbie and the rest of the team from Manly Film Days for winning at the Campus Movie Fest.
Nice,
very good,
very cool.
So and that's just part of the community's growth beyond just the gaming. But it's something that's really there for everyone to make the most out of it, and that's what people are doing. So aside from MGD, I'm also working with a company called Orlando IX, the Orlando Interactive Experience, which is an event that focuses on interactive media. And content creators, digital creators. We'll see all sorts of different people at those events from those events, including game designers, people from the medical and sim tech industries. It's a really big networking opportunity and a great place to see what's coming in the future of these different mediums.
What is your actual position? You're a social media,
so currently I'm there officially as an intern, but I've been given the sort of pseudo title marketing PR.
Nice.
I handle social media, and you can follow Orlando IX at Orlando IX on Twitter and on Facebook, Orlando IX.
And trust me when I say that when he covers events, he covers events. I mean, to the detail. Like, you won't miss a beat. Your E3 coverage, like when I was at work, I'm just like, I can't watch. I'm just going to follow Stan's tweets and Facebook because it is on point every time.
That is a very unique thing that I like to bring to the table with whatever brand I'm working with. Yeah, it's something I'm pretty proud of. Is I record an event by the minute as if I was a journalist, but I'm an advertising and public relations major. So instead, I just work alongside the journalists and tell them that they're great because, hey, shout outs to journalists. I don't care what anyone says. No one calls them dishonest. Journalism is a tough profession. Yeah.
Well, you do a good job, Stan. You do a good job. So this opening was your I mean, this was your pick, right?
This was my pick.
And because we had to switch things up a little bit because when we do our top fives with guests, we focus on them. But Steve and I decided to do the opening and closing would be our favorite picks from what game we're talking about. So Steve opened with his favorite track, which was
Return of the Hero.
Return of the Hero. And that's from the Pugilist.
Yes, it is. Because that was actually the
pre-monk.
Yes, the monk way is the hand-to-hand fighting is the way I went with when I played. Yeah. And I actually had a lot of fun with it. It was really nice. You don't have to worry about stuff as much as other classes. You just want to just pound on things. And that's good for me.
Yeah, the monk was a great class. And it was great that that a lot of these classes carried over. Because as we said, there was version 1.0, which failed horribly. The creative team got canned, and they brought in a new team that rebuilt the game, kept the lore and the story, but rebuilt the combat system, the terrain, and everything like that. And how they turned this game around from garbage, I mean literal garbage, into gold is...
This is one of the most impressive feats in game. It is one of the most impressive things that's ever really been done, especially in this genre of MMO.
Yeah.
And just as you mentioned the lore, that's something that they turned the entire failure of the first version of Final Fantasy XIV into an in-game event, the Calamity.
Yeah.
And refer to it frequently. It's when, the world was essentially destroyed.
Yep.
And this is from the ashes of what is now, and it's terrific.
It is. It's still, in my opinion, one of the greatest cutscenes that I've seen in a game. I mean, watching it, you're just like,
when I sent you,
I wish people could see my facial reaction, but I will get video for this. I swear.
No, you don't.
When I sent you the extended version where it shows the other side.
Yes.
Man, that's what a time.
Yeah.
Wow.
I will have to check this out.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You definitely have to. It's an amazing part of the story to see that they didn't just, okay, you know what? We're just going to scrap it. Like, no, this was an interesting story. How do we basically Phoenix this back, and they did an amazing job. Brilliant. It didn't skip a beat and jumped right into a story.
How do we cast Revive? See what I did there?
It's actually called Raise.
Oh man!
All right, so that was Stanley.
I am a white mage. That is my profession. So that is how we do it.
Very good.
Use Swift Cast.
Yeah, I always liked the monk class. Ever since the very first Final Fantasy, you had black belts and they were just so great.
Yeah, one of the coolest things that I really like about this class is your one character can be everything. You can switch. You don't have to have 15 different characters and just start all over again. So it's nice being like, oh, you need a healer? No problem. Let me swap out and I'll put on my healing gear and we'll go. And DPS, no problem. So there's so many classes. That's I have alt-itis, so I have to thank God I don't have to make a new character. I can just switch classes but keep all the achievements, everything I've done. So brilliant.
I personally, like I mentioned a moment ago, I'm a white mage. I stick with that class as my pure class, and that's all I care about. And just looking at, like, as you said, this is something it's not new to the Final Fantasy series, being able to switch jobs like that. And it's honestly, like, I'm so glad they did that. There are a couple of reasons I picked 14 to even play, because I didn't play the original base game. I started with A Realm Reborn in the beta, and the reason I picked it up was because of one thing it had that other MMOs didn't have. It had controller support.
Yes.
And so having my 360 controller plugged in my computer, I was like, wow, this is really fun.
That was the only reason I played Final Fantasy XI. Brian and I played that game for many years, and when I first started, I said, this game is garbage on a keyboard. I refuse. I can't. I guess I'm just too stupid to figure out how this is supposed to work. And then I got a controller, and I was like, this is Final Fantasy to me. I have a controller, and it worked great. And then we conquered.
Now let me ask you this:
our Dancer Dark Knight duo just rained death.
Well, let me ask you this: now, when I played Final Fantasy 14, I played it on the 3, on the PS3. So, like, is it a ton of difference between the 3 and the PC? Like, as far as like
Graphically,
Well,
yes.
that and just the ease of play and lag or lack thereof.
Everything's a million times better on PS4 and PC. Than it was
maybe
on
that's
PS3.
why I didn't give it
PS3
a fair enough
support
shake.
and 360 support is being shut down
In
or
fact,
has been shut down.
they offered free upgrades at some point between
Yep.
the systems, and really, I think the biggest difference is, yes, you have a keyboard, but it's not like you can't hook one up to your system.
Right.
So the real key difference with the PlayStation 3 version, just to bring up a specific instance where you need to upgrade, is if you play the Shiva battle, if you fight Shiva and you do not have something stronger than a PS3, you cannot fight Shiva Extreme because there's just too much happening.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So you have to upgrade to really get the full experience.
Wow.
I mean, this is a little embarrassing confession, right? I built my gaming PC with this game in mind. And, yeah, that was my first foray into having a gaming PC like built, custom, and this was the game because it was beautiful enough to justify it.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's
That's
a
saying
beautiful
something.
game. It's such a beautiful game just to look at.
That's the only reason I got it on PS4 was because I wanted to play it at 1080p without any. My computer could not. Like I tried and it literally caught on fire. So it's just my computer can barely play like games on minimum. So and it's. So and like that's the only reason I bought a PS4. Like that is it.
That's
and
the game.
Now I got Final Fantasy VII Remake coming, so I already have my system and
Yeah.
So we're gonna go ahead and jump into our Stan's top 5 here.
Yes.
He's got a pretty awesome list.
Thank you.
And I'm really interested to see why he chose what he did.
Sure. So I'd like to introduce the reason I went with this list. All of these tracks are from the base A Realm Reborn experience. None of them are from Heaven's Ward. So I do want to introduce that because Heaven's Ward is practically an entirely new game.
Right,
and
right.
I wanted to focus on just A Realm Reborn and some of the best tracks.
We'll have you back for a Heaven's Ward episode.
baby.
Once you conquer Heaven's Ward, we'll have you back.
Yes. I still have to find all these points so I can start flying.
Yes, love it. Memories, man. Like whenever I hear like music from an MMO that I'm not currently playing, I just be like, you know what? I'm just gonna go resub myself right now. The music in this game is amazing, and it's interesting because Uematsu scored 1.0, but he did not score this version, and it's a shame. I mean, not that it's a shame. Don't get me wrong. The music in this game is absolutely amazing, but it's just different that they didn't. I don't know the reason. I don't know if he didn't want to come back because he's like, I put all this work into these tracks that aren't being. Some of them they kept and carried over, but but majority of them did not make it over to this version. So, but this new composer really stepped up and made this unbelievable soundtrack. Yes. So, what do we have here, Stan, for your number 5?
This first track comes from my home city state of Gridania. It is Whalers and Water Wheels.
Yay!
And you hear it as you're walking throughout New Gridania and Old Gridania. To talk about why I chose this theme. So, I grew up here in Florida, and one of my favorite places in the entire state is Islands of Adventure.
Mm-hmm.
And as you listen to this song, if you've ever walked through Islands of Adventure, it's a very similar feeling. It's just the same kind of sounds and overall atmosphere that you get in this theme park. And from what I understand, Final Fantasy XIV is actually designed with a theme park kind of feel in mind, according to some people chiming in on different interviews that have been done by the team. And with this song, I mentioned it's my home city state, and yet it's only the number 5. It's not on the top of the list.
Right.
That just tells what more is coming up. But I really like it for a few different reasons. It's very, it's very peaceful as you're hearing right now. It's very laid back. Just sort of that mysteriousness, that mystique of the forest and of all the different people who live in it, alongside all the different species there. But there's also particularly one part of the song that really stands out to me, and it's going to be coming up not too long from now. But when you hear it, you've taken a step away from Final Fantasy and into Tolkien. It sounds like you've walked into the Shire.
Ah, nice.
I really want to get to that point. There it is.
Yes. You know what? That's interesting that you say that, because I think I thought that same thing when you hear this, right? You're like, wait a minute. Is Frodo?
Yeah.
Frodo?
Sam!
Samwise Gamgee. No, this is great, and another reason why Steve and I talk about this so much with gaming is that, especially in like town themes, like how well and how hard it must be to compose a track for an area that you're going to spend so much time in. Yeah. Like, you start out, you're like, okay, you're composing for a town that's in the middle of a forest. Well, just go compose me something. Because like, what do you think of? Like, you don't want something heavy and hard. It's like you want something peaceful and quiet and easygoing and
serene.
Yeah, I mean, and it's amazing when they capture it like perfectly. Especially when you see the design layout of this city. Where it's like, this is fun. Like, this is just such an awesome. Like, it's amazing. I love it.
As do I.
Yeah. What race did you play?
Mikote.
Mikote.
Yes. I am the Catman.
I started out as a Lalafell, and then I moved over to Mikote. So
that bard.
Yeah, my bard. Yeah. My 60 bard.
Yeah.
That they screwed over. So now I have to play a different class.
It's okay. At least the white mages are okay, right?
Healers will always be okay.
I don't even remember what I played.
You played a pugilist.
No, I know. Well, I don't know what race.
Oh,
I have no idea.
Well, were you super tall? Were you super tall and hulkish? Were you
I
short?
don't even remember. I don't even remember.
You were probably a Hume.
Probably.
You probably played like the boring. I'm a human, so I'll make a human. Like me, I need to be like something different. He's like, man, why are you picking on me?
I don't have much to contribute. Ask me when I have.
I'm a human in real life. In another world, I want to be something different. But
it's gotten me through so far. All right.
But I actually originally in the beta I started out in Gridania because I wanted to be a white mage and level up, and it takes a lot of work. It's hard leveling as a white mage if you don't have like a consistent party. Queuing once you unlock dungeons at 15, it's so much easier. But yeah, doing these story missions that you have to do like by yourself, it gets rough.
And that's true for any kind of healing class in any game.
You flying solo, you're done.
Yeah.
And that was me for the entirety of my ride to 50.
Yeah.
That was really what took me so long to. I mean, I played this game since beta, and I only got to level 50 last year.
Yeah.
And that says a lot about how long it took me as an individual, because all of my friends who I joined the game with, they all quit. So yeah, they all left. In my humble little server that shall not be named. Must be kept a secret.
I don't even remember what server.
This is a sacred place.
What server? I'm trying to think. What? Ask Steve.
What server?
I don't know.
Really?
I don't know what race I played. I don't know what server we were on. Diablos. You were Diablos. That's right. That's right.
Well, I could have told you that. I just didn't know what race you were going for. I remember
Diablos,
the Fama Flash Diablos server.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I remember the Facebook group. I'm still in it.
Memories. Yeah, that was good times.
Good old days.
Good times. Well, good choice. There's a good way to start it out. Very peaceful, very relaxing, and
Agreed.
I have a feeling things are going to get chaotic.
They might, but at the risk of coming across as basic, this next track, I promise I've played all the way through A Realm Reborn. No, I swear. But
this is going to be the opening music to Limsa Lominsa.
And he's right.
Yeah. Oh, right. Fantastic.
It is.
Limsa Lominsa.
That's right.
The Pirate City.
Yar!
Yar!
So why did I go with another city-state theme for my top 5 list?
Because you're awesome. That's
thank
why.
you so much. And it was something I really was conflicted about doing because, I mean, these are songs that everybody hears right off the bat.
Right.
Whichever city you picked, you're hearing one of those 2 songs unless you have Ulda, which, spoiler, it's not on this list. So I did not do all 3 city-states. But the reason I went with this track, I Am the Sea. So the theme of Limsa Lominsa, it's beautiful. When I played the beta, I actually started off in Limsa, and that was with the first class I had chosen. But when I'm in this oceanside, essentially it's this maritime, salty, open field, but also open sea. Everything around you is just built around this life of coexistence with the ocean. And when you're walking through Limsa, you're seeing all sorts of different people from different walks of life. You're seeing pirates. You're seeing people who work with the Navy. Yeah. You're seeing fishermen. There's a fisherman's guild. And there's just so much to this seaside life. And that's something that's constantly brought up many times throughout the Limsa Lominsa just the storyline.
Right.
You'll hear, all these different groups band together in times of conflict, even though they themselves are constantly separated because they're doing their own thing. They all have their own goals. And as I'm hearing this song, I'm thinking to myself, I'm standing on just generations of sailors and, treasure and all these grand adventures and all these endless, never-ending stories connected to the ocean. And I feel as though I'm walking in the very history of this continent by being in Limsa Lominsa and hearing this wonderful track that it's a sea shanty without any words.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're right. Because when you walk into the inn and stuff like that, first thing you hear is just a bunch of different stories going on, from stories at sea and things like that. And visually, the city is amazing.
It really fits.
From the highest point, when you're looking out over the water, you're just this is absolutely amazing.
You can step on ships. You can just look off of a dock and go fishing. There's a lot to do here that supports really what this entire area is about, and the song ties in perfectly.
And
you can take a ship to my favorite area in the game, which is Costa del Sol.
Hey.
And coming from somebody who has no memory of this at all, just listening to that music, it has a very epic sound to it. A very, you want to undertake an adventure. The song drives you out to sea.
Right.
Like Stan was saying. And I think I like the it sounded like bagpipes almost in the very beginning of that song. That was just fantastic too.
Yeah, it's interesting because now they added with the expansion the ninja.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up.
Is now a member of Limsa Lominsa. So you have the Marauder, you have the ninja class, you have. I'm trying to think what else starts in Limsa Lominsa.
What was it? Rogue in general, fishing. We got quite
you have tons of crafting.
Culinary.
You have culinary. You have blacksmith, I believe, is there. Armor smith, Brian's signaling.
It's like playing charades over here.
I'm using my peripheral vision to try to figure out as I'm staring at the wall.
Are you summoning something right now? I think we have a summoner on our hands. Arcanist, the Arcanist.
Oh yes, the Arcanist. That's right. Don't worry, Brian. You can speak up. It's okay. There we go. Yeah, just shout it out. The mic will pick it up. It's okay.
Many levels to get my white mage. How could I forget?
Brian.
I forgot the class that I needed to get white mage. I couldn't have gotten it without Arcanist.
Brian's I wish I was mic'd up right now. That's a great. No, but it is a great city, and each city is totally different. There's not they're so similar. No, there is no similarity at all, and it makes you want to go to each area. It kind of.
It forces you to, but
it forces you. But you kind of want to do the opening quest in each area just to kind of see what does this start you out doing.
I think the key word here, and this is consistent across all three of the city-states, is culture.
Yeah,
they all have a clear culture that is both shown to you by the different people that are there, by the other players, and interacting with their different classes, and just by listening.
Yeah,
you get an idea of what really goes on and what sort of adventures have transpired here.
Right.
You get a taste of the culture.
It definitely is one of the greatest cities to start in because you're just you're hitting these adventures. All right, my adventure starts here. So how is mine going to shape out? So it's
excellent.
It's a good way to start the game. Another good choice.
Thank you. I hope they're all good choices.
We'll see your adventure will shape up so you can ship out.
Oh man, shape up and ship out, but you have to be of a certain level to use certain ships. So
go battle Leviathan in the middle of the sea.
No, thank you.
Amazing.
That was
fight.
really hype.
Amazing fight. Oh my god.
That is really the primal battles are some of the best experiences in that game.
Oh my god.
I played a Garuda EX for 45 minutes because my team couldn't get it right, and I didn't even care. It was just too fun.
And there's so much difference between each version that they add in. There's just I beat this
extra
thing on
phases.
normal. Yeah, extra phases, additional thing, and you really have to work together. You have to study
such
the mechanics.
A fundamental. Someone at least somebody's barking orders.
Yeah,
and not in a bad way. in a way that's needed.
Yeah,
Sometimes it can be bad.
Sometimes, if you're not with a group going in, if you're doing like a pug group going in, and you people suck. Learn what you're doing.
Leroy Jenkins.
Yeah, I will say, in my experience,
exactly.
in the entire game, I've only had one instance of a bad instance, and that was in a random dungeon run. And I think really part of it is that people just don't mess with me because I'm the one keeping them alive.
Yeah.
That is true. I mean, you usually pray you get a healer pretty quick.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my second track, I Am the Sea, my number 4 for A Realm Reborn. And the next one, well, it would have been more appropriate as an intro than it would be the middle of a list, but
that's what makes this show interesting. Is we
keep people on their toes.
That's right. One of these days, I will go to the Final Fantasy, the Distant
World
Symphony. I will see that, and I will cry the entire time.
Man.
Insert any Final Fantasy game ever.
Go ahead.
Sorry, the Prelude. So, and I wrote a little bit down for each of these songs. I'm actually going to read this one, rather than improvise my speaking here.
Go right ahead, sir.
All right, so the Prelude. I wanted to limit myself to just one song returning from the Final Fantasy series, and that meant cutting things like Gold Saucer, which I love dearly. Still, the only one I could pick was the Prelude. This timeless melody is at its best in Final Fantasy XIV. I even used to play it before going to sleep, and I truly cherish this Prelude. The game delivered on it in peak form, and I think that's really what it comes down to.
No, absolutely. I mean, this is a song that you hear, and it's just memories of so many different Final Fantasy games coming. Mm-hmm. It's the power of music and this track in general. Anybody, they don't care if you hated half the Final Fantasy, that this track and you have some kind of positive association with it, regardless of what game that you like.
I think part of that, what makes it so powerful, is it's so simple.
Yes.
You're just going up and down the scale. And here it is preserved all this time. It's one of the core Final Fantasy themes, and it appears in more games than the Final Fantasy theme.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful. It makes me. I think this is still composed by Nobu. This arrangement of it may also be, but that's the worst thing about Heaven's Ward is that you'd get a new menu.
You do get a new menu. That's right.
And so that is the only thing that I can complain about because this is just so good.
This is so good.
You
just turn down the TV, put your Prelude on while you're logging in, and when you do, turn it down.
Turn it off. Exactly. Yeah. So for that reason, it's even now. It's all these emotions are stirring up within me. It is
a very you can hear it like in the track. There is a lot of emotion because when you think of Final Fantasy, you're filled with excitement, tragedy, every emotion on the spectrum, and this encapsulates it all so well. And there's not much more to say. It's a beautiful track. It is a beautiful track. This will probably play at my funeral. This is what my funeral will start with.
It's so beautiful, and it starts. Side note, it's what plays when you enter the procession waiting for the weddings to start in 14 as well. The weddings and funerals.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, man, what a great track. I love
Good job.
This is really the best, I think, of this song's arrangement for 14, I think, is the best version of the Prelude ever.
Yeah, it is great.
I think it beats every other game's version.
I have nothing to add to this because if I add anything, it'll just end up taking away. So I'm just leaving that one.
That's the greatest thing I've ever heard. Steve wins the evening. So we're already on moving on to number
2.
Number 2 already.
Yeah.
Wow, this is
trucking through.
This is cheese and ricin'. All right.
Yeah.
Is it cheese and rice or is it Scooby-Dooing?
Well, Scooby-Doo will come later. This is cheese and rice.
So this next track, you guys are going to hear it, and if you've played the game, you've heard it at some point, but you'll also hear it if you go to the Distant World Symphony and you're lucky.
Next time you'll invite me.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh man, what a pick me up after that last track. You're just like, oh, let's go kick some ass.
Getting right into it. Yeah. So this is Torn from the Heavens. As I mentioned a moment ago, it is something that they do actually play at the Final Fantasy Distant World Symphony, if you are lucky, and it's on the docket for that night. And I guess a little side story about that: when I went to go see it, we ended up missing the first half of the entire symphony.
Wow.
We got lost in town before we walked into the right venue, and everything I cared about ended up being in the second half, so I didn't care.
Nice.
It was all good. Like, all we missed was stuff that there's no problem. So this was one of the songs played during the symphony, and I was so thankful. I was audibly like cheering for it before it started, and it was just it's a terrific track. I think. So we talked earlier, this game does have awesome music, but a lot of the different songs for certain scenarios don't necessarily meet expectations. I will say that the boss themes can fall flat early in the game because they're not really that big of a deal when it comes to the boss. But this song is really associated with the Chimera fight as like the first time you really hear it, and it's awesome. Like it is appropriate for a Final Fantasy boss theme. It's like wow, this is the drama, and the best thing about this track is the very beginning, which we're about to loop back into. You hear this little build up right here again as it's and here it is. Here's the most important part of the song.
You can just envision people charging into battle at this point, and it's it's a great theme. It is a fantastic theme.
It loops so well. That is, and again, that intro is
and
really...
Lindsay Sterling comes in right there.
Yeah. When it cues up and really starts, be at the beginning of the song or when it's looped again, you just like, bam, you feel it. This is time. This is time for battle.
Yeah, it's about to get real.
And it gets real.
And Final Fantasy, it is so important to have good battle music and encounter music. So, it is so important. And,
because you hear it all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
All the time.
Right.
And this does it so well on a game that's so huge with so many tracks and so many different things to cover. You're like this really hits the mark for what you want in a very serious encounter. So this is awesome. Yeah. This is a good pick.
Thank you.
This is a good pick. I'm really wanting to go back into this game now. Like I'm not going to lie about that.
It's hard. It's hard to listen to the music and get the memories and not hop back in.
I want to shake off my bard, see if they made any changes. And the reason I stopped is because they made me a black mage. Essentially, I have to stand still and attack. And they're like, "Oh, you don't have to do that." But then I'm losing DPS if I go mobile. And it's just I know they made some changes to it, but ultimately the reason I made the class was the full mobility. That's what I loved about the class. And but when I go back, I do want to try Ninja out. I'd really want to level a Machinist and Astrologian. Yeah. So those look cool.
A what?
It's
Astrologian.
It's a healer that uses like tarot cards type stuff, so you can buff your party. You didn't play 11, right?
No.
So it was like a Corsair. You like rolled dice and had like these buffs that you could give to your party.
Gotcha.
There you go. There you go. Now I know what's going on. So, but yeah, it was really cool when they implemented that new healer because it's like how many different ways can you heal? I was like, oh, you have like a buff healer. This is fantastic.
Did they ever bring back like the Geomancer?
In 11, they did.
Did they?
Yep, and that was probably one of the latest class additions they made to that game was the Geomancer. Yes. So
wasn't that the one like in Final Fantasy Tactics that like had like the slide like the different rulers to do his attacks?
I never played Tactics all the way through.
I actually have not started it yet. I've got it lined up.
Brian, help me.
When I finish,
Brian, help me.
I played Tactics.
He played Tactics.
There's one like there was a class that their weapon was a different ruler, like a slide ruler or something like that, and like all their attacks were based on
geometry.
Yeah, you're right. Well, it was the calculator then class. Yeah, and it was like so if you were this high off the field and their monster was this far, it doesn't average level, and at this level, then it makes your attack is worth this much.
So was it a Geomancer or a Geometry Mancer?
Nice.
That's really.
It was actually a calculator.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would never play that class.
It was actually really good to have one on the field because it was just like random stuff. It was the same kind of thing as like with Setzer spinning the wheels and hoping that you get certain
I
things
can
to
just
make
say,
things happen.
We have archers up in there. Bust out your protractor. Let's go. You know?
Got my
math.
sextant
All
out
right.
here.
Yeah. Wait. Black mage, raise your arm a little bit.
Yes,
okay.
there you go.
Stop.
Pulls out an abacus. What is that? I don't know.
They're just staring at it dumbfounded. Like, what's going on?
That's actually how he defeats most of the enemies, is just to distract them with math problems.
You got like a big ogre. I can't math.
What is this?
And if all else fails, he weaponizes the compass because it's got that sharp point.
Yes, that's right. See, now this is interesting.
Yeah.
Now,
we
now
have made
we're-
this a cool class that does not rely on just the strength of numbers.
But going on classes, though, there's a lot of like talk about what will be coming next in 14, and Samurai and Red Mage are high on the list, I know, and there's also some speculation of a Blue Mage as well. So, so it's interesting to see exactly what they decide to bring in as the next class. So, if they do Samurai, I mean, there are people saying that they want it to be a defensive warrior, like a tank class, but I can't see Samurai anything other than a DPS class. I mean, I want them just a Bushido straight in.
But wouldn't that be the ninja class? So they don't want to make two classes exactly the same,
and that's
right?
really the issue with picking Samurai. I mean, going in that direction of Final Fantasy 14 being like the borderline weeaboo MMO. Because it's Final Fantasy, but it's all these extra Japanese things being added into it. And obviously it's a Japanese company, but after getting ninja, do you need samurai or do you want a Western class? A Western style?
Yeah. No, I can see both sides. I mean, granted, before I was like, I want like a massive like two-handed sword. I'm like, okay, we have the Dark Knight. The Dark Knight does have a massive two-handed sword, but I just think a samurai gear would look amazing in this game.
If you played during the Final Fantasy 11 event, you get samurai gear.
Really?
Yes, and you might not be a samurai, but you have headband and full armor. It's awesome.
Oh wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
The only event I rode there was the lightning return. I got all the weapons, all the armor sets, everything for that. I was running around in snow. I was like, yeah, not a teal people.
Okay,
Speaking of
now I'm in this conversation. Okay, I know who Snow is.
Yeah, speaking of crossover costumes, I actually just like a month ago or two, my subscription hit another landmark, and I got Cloud's outfit.
Ooh.
Yeah, from Advent Children.
There you go, the cool outfit.
Yeah.
That's
cool
awesome outfit.
Yes.
So yeah, my Catboy is walking around dressed like Cloud.
They need to incorporate the motorcycle into that now.
Oh yeah.
They need to release an outfit for Kingdom Hearts. The Cloud from Kingdom Hearts with the bandaged up with the
I wouldn't be
big
surprised to
bandage.
see a Kingdom Hearts related thing though in the near future, especially for cross promotional reasons.
Yeah, I can see something coming.
Yeah. Be pretty exciting for all the
Cloud
fans.
was actually in Final Fantasy Tactics as well. So was Aerith.
Really?
Aerith, yeah. You can find them, and then like to unlock Cloud's main thing, you have to go to like one of the hardest stages. It's up on top of this volcano, and you can get the Buster Sword. And then he learns Omnislash with it.
In the original Tactics,
In
or
the
like
original
the
Final Fantasy Tactics.
interesting?
Cool.
That is pretty cool.
Buster Sword keeps appearing in mountains. It just happened in was
Yeah.
it Just Cause 3?
Just Cause 3.
I was about to say Far Cry 3.
Yeah, Just Cause 3. It's on the side of a mountain.
That's the power of Zack, baby.
That's the power
of Zack.
That's the power of being under the same brand parent company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, so with that, we're actually moving into my last track.
No.
Already?
Oh, yes.
Quick, while this track is playing, come up with 10 more.
Okay.
I don't want this. I don't want this episode to end.
Yeah, we could just stretch it out and talk for the remainder if you really want. I mean,
is track
there's
one,
so much good
track
stuff.
two.
Oh,
Track 3.
trust me, there will be talking. Don't you worry about
Oh
that.
yeah. So this
They'll be winking too.
this last track, you're gonna hear it before I talk about it.
You're gonna hear this track. I'm telling you right now.
Wow, well, there's your samurai theme.
Yeah, and the real kicker is unlike Torn from the Heavens, what I consider the most important part of the song hasn't happened yet, and it's a new instrument and everything when it happens. but it's coming up real soon. And then once it happens, that's when I'll say my piece on it.
The anticipation is killing
That's right.
me.
This track is called Steel Reason.
Yeah.
Steel Reason is the theme that plays whenever you face one of the leaders of the Garlean Empire. Now, the Garleans are, for those who don't know...
Jerks.
Yeah.
That would be me. I'm raising my hand.
You're a Garlean.
Oh, I have a feeling this isn't going to be good.
Yeah, now I understand. I was claiming like his allegiance. That's not the right salute. So yes, this theme plays for different Garlean leaders when you fight them. For me, I associate with Nero, who is Sid's rival from youth, because it does play in what is essentially the last mission of the Garlean Empire arc, and just before you face, everything after him, including the ultimate weapon. So, it's an awesome track. Yeah, ultimate weapon. That's right. There it is.
Oh, dude, that fight is out of control.
Wow.
It was, yeah. I mean,
They usually are.
Yeah.
They're usually like the
But
hidden bosses.
It's not even called
Ultimate Weapon.
Atma. It's just Ultima.
but the people and just the architecture and everything for the
Yeah.
Garlean Empire is amazing. I mean, the Magitech, you
Yeah.
get the Magitech armor from 6. Like you're
And
right.
the it's bipedal.
Yeah,
Yes.
and everything.
Yeah.
You get that
yes,
to
you
run.
pilot a Metal Gear. That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and there's actually a quest you can get that you can actually shoot from it. It's just for aesthetics, like it doesn't actually do
But you
damage.
can do it.
But you can do it, and believe me, I'm running around town just chasing people are running around. What is this thing? Ah!
Right.
It's great. It's awesome.
So I did write a little piece for this track as well. So my number one pick for the tracks in the base Final Fantasy XIV experience is the track Steel Reason. It is the theme played when players face a Garlean leader in combat. In my mind, this is the theme of Nero, though for others it applies to other Garleans. When the guitar riff begins to play, it fills me with a sense of rising hope and glory. It tells me to press onward and overcome the challenges before me. It almost feels like the song itself is telling me about a legendary clash between enemies that could go either way, yet suddenly the tide of battle tilts in favor of the hero, narrating their glorious triumph over a formidable adversary.
That is beautiful.
That's beautiful. Very nice.
I'll give you an A for that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. Composition passed.
A plus.
Ooh,
Now,
thank
now
you.
I have to ask a dumb question. Now, in these
Shoot.
battles, is it one-on-one or is it group
So
on
it is
one?
your party against a single entity, and you
So
know they're you're-
4-on-1,
Actually, 8-on-1.
8-on-1.
Yeah,
like a
but
raid.
you're also dealing with ads during these fights, so you'll have just random mobs showing up, and you have your party will be splitting up. Obviously, tank is faced off against.
Sure.
Really, the tank could be like seen as the leader of every party, right? Because
Right.
their role
They
is so
generally
pivotal.
are.
Yeah.
They're so pivotal to actually defeating the boss. Meanwhile, you'll have random Garlean soldiers to deal with, or different machinery, or just different things like that to deal with. Sometimes these enemies are just so powerful on their own that it takes 8 people to beat them. I mean, really, not to knock the impressive fighting capability and the technological superiority of the Garlean Empire. I mean, they are a legitimately formidable adversary
Yes.
to face. I mean, they're so insane. Like their reach around the world. Eorzea just being your continent, but they all over the world. Their reach is so far reaching that you see other nations of people rebelling and then having to flee to Eorzea because they've been defeated. And that's a nice little nod to Final Fantasy VI with the Domans.
Yeah.
But so the Garlean Empire is just something so impressive, and ultimately, if you look at some of their characters, I respect them. Their ideals are something that Eorzeans don't support. They don't want to be taken over by an empire. But you look at the sort of I guess philosophy behind the characters, and you have one who's like essentially a general, and under Gaius, and says, I'm a nobody. Like I was just some random guy, and I was given the ability because of my talent to work through the ranks and have this great station. That is what this empire is all about. That is why you should submit to our empire.
Right.
And he fights and dies with this belief, and upon his death says, I'm sorry, I failed you. You had so much confidence in me to make me this leader, and I failed in the face of the Eorzean champion. So, it's definitely, it wouldn't be a well-written character or well-written faction if you could not empathize with them and what they're doing. They're not just evil people.
Right. So just out of ignorance here now, these groups are the main antagonist of the game.
So
it's a two-part question. So
Yes.
are they the antagonist, and B, are they related? Like, can I compare them to the main antagonists in Final Fantasy XII, where you had like the armies and all the armor and stuff like that? And then, as you went through the game, you fought different generals of said army until you got up to the main.
I would say that you don't really face the majority of the Garleans until like the level 40 range, and that's when the entirety of the city-states have united to fight this common foe. But the most of 14's enemy is dealing with the Primals, which are the summons, and just figuring out how they're being summoned and why they're there. So this faction is really, at the end of the day, just a tool of the ultimate enemy that you're not the ultimate weapon, but the actual big bad of Final Fantasy XIV's lore. This is just one pawn, and there have been so many. The entire time you're playing through the story, it's pawn after pawn. People who've been essentially taken advantage of by the darkness, the forces of evil, if you will.
Sure.
So that, and for that reason, I don't hate the Garleans, because they're just as much a victim of this force, because they put faith in it and they believe they can work alongside it and potentially achieve their ambitions.
Yeah, because like you said, you got the Garland, but on the other hand, like you said, you have the Primals, which ultimately the ultimate weapon comes and destroys the Primals and gains their ability. So you're just like, you have these unbelievable creatures that are so powerful that literally just get completely annihilated. So then the ultimate weapon is just like, it's being built up to ultimately just come out and destroy everything. So as you go and you fight it, you're fighting against, you're fighting against Ifrit again.
Titan,
you're fighting against
Shiva,
Titan, Shiva.
Garuda?
So, yeah.
No, not Shiva, but Garuda.
Oh, Garuda, the first three from the first expansion, for the core game. And, so it's just, so it's one hand you're just like, well, who really is the evil? You don't know like who to believe. There are so many different hands and so many different things.
It's all
puppet master
perspective
going on.
It's all perspective.
Yeah,
so
you can objectively say that probably the Ascian threat is the actual they're just legitimately evil bad guys.
Right.
Whereas you can argue the merits of an empire.
Right. Well, like I compare stuff like that, like those ideals to and this is going to go like way off topic here, but like this is how I can compare them, not having played a game. Like Magneto, so you look at the X-Men Magneto, he's a villain, but all he actually wants is peace among everybody else and have people accept mutants as their own, and and that's all he wants is equality. So can you really fault him? You
just have to question methods.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And that's the line
Right.
that
Yeah.
separates him as a good, because he was actually the leader of like the X-Men for a long time.
Yeah.
So he is a good guy, kind of bad guy, but
Yeah,
that's how I relate that to
Good
understanding.
writing is shades of gray, not black and white. It's really that
50 Shades
not
of
50
Grey,
Shades
yeah.
of Grey. That is not.
leave it to me to drop something pornographic.
I was like, I hope it doesn't go in that direction, and then it happened. But no, so I think really that's what to take from that. The their ultimate ambition, and I said like people amongst them actually respect the generals, not because they have to, but they actually legitimately feel that way. And so that's the threat of what a desperate pull for power will do, and it'll put you in danger. And they believe that they can unify the entire world by conquering it. They're not the first empire to believe that.
The Final Fantasy series always had such great writing. Like
Yeah.
it was so easy to get pulled into any story
Ju-
that they've done.
It's just a shame you won't continue, because Heaven's Ward is possibly some of the greatest storytelling I've ever played in a game for an expansion. I mean,
Wow.
like, it just the way they tell and the things you have to do, the way I'm not going to go into details of what happens to people who haven't played it yet, but the way the core game ends off and the where you go in Heaven's Ward, you're just like, how could you, how was this possible? Like, it's unbelievable story, and everything makes sense. It's not just like running around doing like, this is just boring. Like, no, everything has a purpose and it advances the story to the point where you don't want it to end, and when it does, you're just like, when's the next patch come out?
Right,
Please
right.
continue the main scenario line.
Yeah, it's very much like that.
Yeah, because every time they close something, like, all right, I know what happens. 15 things open up.
Right.
You're just like,
See, that's just good writing. What I want to
It
know is
is.
why they keep changing the names of the summons. In this, they're called Primals.
Well, just
Originally,
they've
then
been
they're
espers before.
espers, endulons, and
Yeah.
just all kinds of different things. Like, why do they keep changing the names?
Well, I mean, the nature of the beasts themselves kind of change. In this world, they function as gods in some way, though.
But they kind of are, aren't they?
I mean, again, it just depends on which Final Fantasy you're looking at. I mean, what is the Fire Emblem in Fire Emblem? Pick a game; it's a different thing. So,
Fire Emblem.
yeah.
It's another game I've never played.
yeah.
But yeah, it's like that. So, with that said, to continue on what you were saying about Heaven's Ward, I've only scratched the surface, and that's because of having no time. As we get older, we lose time to do things. But in this strange expansion in which I feel as though I'm actually playing a Final Fantasy game, because obviously you play an MMO, you have a party of people, but I mentioned before I played solo because I don't really have many friends on my server.
Right.
So the way they've done it, you travel from point A to point B alone, but every cutscene is introduced with a group of 4 total people. So you're one of the 4. I feel like I have a party now.
Yeah.
And I feel as though, like, especially because they have these differing ideals and differing objectives for each of them, it's really good. Like it's like, wow, look at this Final Fantasy narrative that's just unfolding before me. And because it's on a new continent, of pretty much a new continent, it's, we've spent all that time in Eorzea, but here we are branching in, look, we've got dragons everywhere. This is just not a thing that's familiar to Eorzeans. And there's kind of a war that's been going on for generations. This continent, this entire, group of people has, Ishgardians stayed away from the rest of the world's problems.
Ireland.
Yeah. So here you are now seeing an entirely new world unfold before you that's always been there, but it's always been closed off.
Yeah, and
Now
people who were very well respected and known in Eorzea are essentially starting from scratch to gain the respect. So it's great. It's a nice starting over point to where they really have to prove yourself. But I know there's a lot of people who haven't played it yet, so I won't get into all the details of the story. But it's definitely worth checking out, Steve.
I think.
Well, if I had to get it, I'd have to get it for the PC now, because you said they shut down the PS3.
You have a PS4, don't you?
Yes.
You can get on
you get a PS4.
Oh.
There you go. Yeah.
And as a
Would I have to start over?
And as a collector, no, you do not have to start over. You have your account information. You can continue the same character you had. And as a collector, you don't want to say, I just don't own all the Final Fantasies.
That's true.
So get on the stick.
Bam.
Stick.
Well, that was a good number one.
Oh,
I mean,
thank
that was a very good way.
Back to that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just we say this, and I'm going to say it every single episode, is that it's very, very hard to pick your top 5 of a game, especially a game of this magnitude. It's not like it has 10 tracks. I mean, there are so many. Yeah. There are so many. You could just pick top 5 field themes because there are so many areas
right.
to go in this game.
Top 3 city states.
Yeah, I mean the cities have a day and a night music.
Yeah,
I mean,
and that was another thing I had to deal with when I was picking.
So it's just there's so much variation, and it's but it's exciting for people who haven't played Final Fantasy 14, A Realm Reborn, and want to check it out. This is just a small glimpse of what the game has on a music standpoint, which is a very, in my opinion, a very key component in a Final Fantasy series.
Oh, in any series.
Yeah.
Agreed, though.
But, I mean, Final Fantasy is known for just amazing, amazing music. And considering Mimatsu isn't responsible for this, it's amazing. It's an amazing journey.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, I mean, just to sort of further... it's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. Just to further chime in on what makes 14 such an excellent game, I mean, you have to look at where it came from, and that's constantly hinged on that. They talk about it in the story all the time, but, the calamity, and that's a real-life metaphor for the game being a failure at launch. And, here we are now, how long since it released? It's still a paid subscription. How many MMOs can say that they can still maintain their paid subscription status? And... I think the real key to making this game successful is the fact that they had active community engagement. They listened to what the fans of the game wanted, and they made sure to focus on those things and make them better. Yeah. And I really think it's from a PR standpoint, which again, that's my career. So it's very important to me looking at how Square has handled this. It is something that everybody should really take note of and sort of strive for as a publisher with a very big IP under your hands. And they did a terrific job of listening to the community, implementing the changes as people wanted them, and making sure that they continue to make valuable worthwhile content for their players.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and they create such a positive environment, and for a longevity of an MMO. I mean, I've been playing WoW off and on since it came out, and I think WoW has one of the most toxic communities that I've ever been a part of. I mean, it's just whenever I played 14 and got into a group, if you were new or didn't know anything, I always start out with, "Has everybody done this dungeon yet?" Not me. Okay, I'll explain the fights as I go. Now in WoW, you do that, you're booted. Go watch YouTube, learn to fight, and then come back. Like,
stay tuned next week for our World of Warcraft episode.
Our burning crusade against World of Warcraft.
No, don't get me wrong. I love World of Warcraft. I have Legion paid off and pre-ordered, and I will check it out when it comes out. But I'm just saying, like, Final Fantasy 14 has such a positive community that they're constantly welcoming newcomers, even though the game, has been out for a while now. If you're new, you're not going to be shunned away.
I said, I suck at 14. I'm good as a healer. I do my job very well, but I suck because
you had one job to do, and we all died.
Yeah,
and go watch YouTube.
I do that one job really well, but it's like everything. There's so much content in the game. Even just on the non-combat classes that are just about crafting. There's so much content, and I don't know the first thing about most of it because I didn't care. I just wanted to be a healer. That was my thing. I want to go in. I want to heal people. I want to make sure people don't die. That's all I care about.
And that's a great point that you brought up. Is one of the best things about this game is you do not have to initiate in combat. You can be a full-time crafter and make a reputation of just supplying people with items. And I think that's fantastic because that was one of the things I really loved about in Star Wars Galaxies and stuff like that is you didn't have to fight people if you didn't want to. I just want to create a shop in in Ulda and just have people come up and be like, I'm known as the guy who has the best wares. Yeah. If you want this stuff, contact this guy, and you just make a killing.
I am a materia peddler.
Yeah, and it's just it's brilliant because crafting when the game first came out was iffy. It was like, okay, a lot of the stuff you didn't need, but now, I mean, they've really made some changes to where crafted gear, food, and even stuff for now.
Is culinary actually worth it now?
Yes, culinary is absolutely worth it now. Yes. Especially for extreme fights and stuff like that. I mean, it's they've added some amazing buffs and stuff in that. And now you have housing. Yes. I mean, you can make furniture with woodwork. I mean, it's just there's a lot of stuff that actually it makes sense, and I love that fact that it's just like I want to get on and just craft. I don't want to go and fight people. Out. Yeah,
I've gone on and just hung out with players.
Yeah,
that's it. I've walked. It's rare because my server is so small, but I'll walk past people and they'll just be sitting down and be like, "There's actually some social interaction. Let me just sit down." They're always welcoming.
Yeah, they are.
And especially on
look at this
server,
guy get lost, cat.
Yeah.
There's no catnip here.
Yeah, especially on my server, it's such a small server that people are very welcoming because there are so few people there. You're only there if you want to be there. Otherwise, you've left servers.
Right.
And like I said, I've only had one experience of a negative instance in a dungeon. So that says a lot about the community as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, you're always going to have those. There's always those few, but overall, it's been an overwhelmingly positive experience for Final Fantasy XIV, yes. And I think it will continue. I had a great time in Heaven's Ward, and I look forward to the next expansion, and hopefully they add a Blue Mage especially for Brian, because I know if that happened and they did it right, anything close to what they did in 11 would make us very giddy.
Now, Blue Mage is where you absorb the powers of the creatures.
Yep. In 11, you had to go and fight them away from to do the ability, and if they hit you with it, you learned it, and you could implement that.
Wasn't the first one that used that in with 6 or something like that with Gal?
6. Oh, Gal?
5?
Yeah, because Gal has different stuff.
Because he actually leaves the party, and then at some point in time he comes back and says, "Hey, I learned this while I was gone."
Yeah.
Hey guys.
So you say 5? It's in 5 first, Blue Mage.
I learned Bee Sting. I'm allergic.
Why did you learn that? I don't know.
I was trying to get honey and I got stung.
Dude, the Veld is just too much.
Yeah.
I didn't even bother with learning.
That had great music too. The Veld music. That was like, yeah, I don't mind sitting out there and hanging out there for hours.
So much good music.
That's my input.
Such love. Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome. Bowing out.
But before I talk briefly on my outro track for my favorite track that I picked for this game, is there anything else you wanna push or promote or say hi to or
yes? So since this is a Final Fantasy related podcast episode,
it is. That's right.
Yeah, I do want to give a shout out to my buddy Zia, who is one of the biggest Final Fantasy fans I'll ever meet. He was at the Symphony with me. And so is my girlfriend, Kimmy. Hi, Kimmy.
Hi, Kimmy.
He has definitely taught me a lot about Final Fantasy as well, and that's been really fun because he's picked up 14, and his favorite class is Dark Knight in just in the overall lore.
Right.
So he wanted to. Well, he usually goes with Monk because he's a martial artist, but he wants Dark Knight to actually have the quality of lore that it should have, and from what he saw from Heaven's Ward seems to have the right lore. They left Ishgard because they didn't believe in what the Holy See was doing, so that makes them a Dark Knight now because they're defying the laws of Ishgard. But yeah, so shout outs to Zia, shout outs to all of MGD at Manly Gamedays, or just check out the Facebook group. Just type in Manly Gamedays, you'll find it. Shout outs to Orlando IX, which I'm working with now. Tiny Waves. I have not mentioned Tiny Waves, but Tiny Waves here in Orlando, we are an event group that does all sorts of different themed events. We do Marathon Mondays at the Geeky Z on Cimarron in Orlando, and we also do dance parties at all sorts of different events.
Whoop, whoop.
We did the AFO rave. We did a Kingdom Hearts Valentine's party last month, which was pretty awesome.
Nice.
Honestly.
Nice.
We had the visualizer going with different clips from different Final Fantasy games and Disney cartoons, and it was a terrific time.
That's really cool.
We had Heartless in the room. We let out balloons that were Heartless and nobody colored. Tiny Waves. Check us out at tinywaves.us, and you can see all of our events that are coming up. We have a community there as well that's really getting off the ground, and we'd like to see more people, especially in the Orlando area.
Nice. I'll have to come out there and check it out. That's very cool. Geek Easy, you said?
The Geek Easy is where a lot of our events happen. We also have a couple other places that we show up from time to time. So
cool.
I'll let you know more about it later.
Please do. We'll be happy to spread the word. So, well, Stan, thank you for coming on. This is great. This has been in the works for a while. So I've been wanting to do a 14 episode, and I know that you're a big 14 fan. So
I do like it.
I'm glad that we were able to. I know you're a busy man, so we were able to snag you away from the.
Yes, it's quite the time. Let me tell you.
But before
White Mage for life.
Yeah. The outro track is actually interesting because it's actually the Day Ulda theme. So we've actually covered all three of the towns in this list, and this is in this new, and when I remade it, this is where I started. So coming in there is just there's so much to see in Ulda. So, and I'm a what was it? The Grand Company, the Flame.
Oh, yeah.
What was the name of it?
The Flames.
Was it the Flames? Anybody? Internet? Hello? No, because I know there was the Twin Adders, which was Gridania. There was pirate people with hats in Linsa Luminsa, and then the Maelstrom was the
Flames. The Brass Blades are.
No.
The Brass Blades are Robon's personal line of mercenaries.
Because I keep wanting to say Flame General.
The Immortal Flame.
The Immortal Flames.
Thank you.
There we go. Thank you, Internet.
Auspicious and
Thank you.
all-knowing voice from the sky.
I will.
Wow.
Yes. So anyway, I've done everything that there is to do. So I'm the highest rank, everything like that. So anyway, Ulda day theme. I wasn't supposed to talk on that more than 15 seconds, but my moron kicked in, so I kind of went braid that there for a couple seconds. But anyway, be sure to look us up on all of our social media. Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Cast Revive. We have a YouTube channel now. We're putting all of our podcasts as well. We're hopefully going to be doing a new video series soon in the future, so be sure to check us out there. And rate us on iTunes. Leave us your comments, good or bad. Let us know what you'd like us to do differently. Keep the same. If you want me to, get replaced by a shoe, that we can work that in as well.
How would a shoe talk?
It just wouldn't. It probably
very tongue in cheek.
Steve's on fire tonight. I love it. I have
all this downtime to think of these things.
Fantastic. Yeah. Just pull the plug. But anyway, thank you guys all very much for listening. And Stan, again, thank you very much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.
Peace.